Praise the Lord, everybody. This is Brother Lowe. Today's date is November the 1st, and we are going over our Sunday school lesson, Stirred by God. Our focus verse is going to come from Ezra 1 and 5, and it reads, "Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests of the Levites, with all them whose spirit God had raised, to go to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem." Now, we find Cyrus, the king of Persia, has been visited by God and was given a vision, a charge, if you will, to build the house of the Lord and to bring all the kingdoms of the earth to help build the house of the Lord, Jerusalem, which was in Judea. And so a few things that I feel truly brought Cyrus success in this situation, in this task that God had placed on him. One was that he listened to God. If you have not developed your spirit of discernment, you have to know that God speaks to us through other individuals, that He speaks to us through our conscience, He speaks to us through our situation. And the question isn't if God is speaking, but the question is have you tuned your spirit to hear Him? And so, we want to create a deeper connection with God, and in order to hear God, you have to be operating not necessarily in your carnal man, but in your spiritual man, or woman for that matter, to be able to hear and discern what God is trying to tell us. The second thing was that he wrote the vision down. It says, write the vision and make it plain. He wrote the vision down. Have you ever tried to, maybe remember something that you planned to get when you went to the grocery store and you never wrote a list down, and somehow you either come out with too less or too many items? And we've all been at Walmart and said we were going for one thing and end up with $100 worth of items in our basket. It happens because there wasn't a goal, there wasn't a plan, there wasn't a vision that was written down, a list, if you will, that you could follow. And so he wrote down the vision that God gave him, so that he could, help himself with bringing it to pass. Great tip. Number 3, he called on God's people. So not only did he call the Jews that were there, but he also called the Jews that were exiled to return home in order to help with the process. Now, number 4 was that he ordained those of God's people coming back to get involved. So he gave people jobs and something to look forward to doing. The work of the church, the work of the ministry, the work of God, the work of the kingdom is not a solo operation. There has to be someone, in front of the camera, someone behind the camera, someone operating the computer the camera is connected to, someone, making the post, someone doing the social media. It has to be someone doing all of these different aspects that aren't even thought about, cleaning the church, setting up the church to make sure that it's able to, the ambassadors, welcoming individuals, the ushers, if you will, they're welcoming other individuals, the secretaries, the security. There are the deacons, there are so many, the evangelists. There are so many other jobs that you can do, that you can find to do, that there's not a loss of work, but most of the time there's a loss of individuals who are willing to work. And so one thing that we were pointing out in and the fourth thing that he did was that he ordained God's people. That means that he gave them a job to do. So, you know, if you are thinking that you have a talent, you know, find out what it is that you can do, you know. And if your pastor comes to you and asks you if you have a skill or if you can contribute, don't shy away from that. You know, a lot of the times it's just a self-esteem issue that we don't realize that we have value and that our skills and our gifts will make room for us. Allow them to. Get out of your own way. Okay, number 5. He encouraged those that were not returning to support. Now, you know, some people have that gift, the gift of giving. That is another gift from God, you know, to have that spirit, that giving spirit. And so, you know, those who may not be able to, you know, participate, or, you know, they may not even be able to contribute because they, you know, may be too shy, or they may not have a talent, you know, or they just may not be in a position able-bodied wise to be able to contribute. You can always contribute with your finances. And so they were successful in their task of you know, working together as a team. It took all of them in order to do this. The dramatic fact about this is that Cyrus was not a Jew. He was Persian. They didn't even practice the same beliefs. And so this just goes to show how your blessing, your refilling, your reestablishment, the work that God has for you, the thing or the blessing that God has for you, you never know what street it's gonna come down. You never know what hand it'll be passed from. You never know which individual is holding the blessing that you are meant to receive. And so we have to get out of this mindset of thinking that, you know, it has to be cookie cutter, because, you know, if it was cookie cutter, if it was something we could figure out, it probably is not God. Because he deals in the miraculous. I mean, come on, he moved someone who didn't even practice the faith, a non-believer, to do something to build up the kingdom of heaven. And so not only did Cyrus, you know, bring the Jews back in to assist, but he brought in the whole kingdom around him. In fact, he put all of these 5 things to work so well that they raised 5,400, yes, 5,400 vessels of silver and gold to help with the building of the temple. And so he was definitely, truly a man on a mission, or with a mission from God. Now, the turning point is that, you know, there's always going to be someone who's going to find a way to throw a pity party about something. And so, you know, we see that here. That kind of is the last tip that I'm going to, the last thing that I'm going to get to before I let you guys go. But before I get to that, you'll just have to stay on and keep watching for just a few seconds. But you know, the relatable tip was that, you know, he rejoiced after they had success. So after the foundation was built, they rejoiced. Listen, you have to be able to celebrate your small wins. I want you to be encouraged. You know what? And sometimes to attain a big goal, you have to break that goal down into small parts. And then you have to celebrate when you knock one of those, you know, rungs off the ladder. And don't be afraid to celebrate. A lot of times we want to wait all the way until, you know, the end of something to try and celebrate, and then we lose steam halfway through the middle. You know, and I am definitely a believer in celebrating my small victories. I'm telling you, I will be my own cheerleader if I didn't have, you know, 4 little cheerleaders following me around all the time. But you know, Definitely want to make sure to, cheer for yourself and cheer yourself on, and definitely celebrate your small victories. Now the thing is like I was saying, there's always going to be somebody who can make a pity party out of anything. And so while some of them were celebrating the work that they had done, there were inevitably a few saints that were in there throwing a pity party about how it wasn't like it used to be. And we have to get out of that mindset. We will restrict ourselves from success, from the pouring of new wine into new vessels, by trying to pour new wine into an old vessel. You can't forgive yourself for something that you did in the past, and so it's preventing you from being able to move on to your future. Maybe it was a old marriage that had you hemmed up and you got out of that situation, but now you won't give Mr. Right a chance because the fact is that you're still holding on to that old baggage. Maybe it's that you are not necessarily happy with the new job that you had because you felt like the old job was better. Maybe it's the fact that you haven't gotten a new car because the old car is still sitting in the driveway. You have to learn how to let that old mentality, that old self, that old husk of your life go. Just let it go. A lot of the times we try and hold on to it because that old self is part of the good and the bad that make up who we are. But in reality, in order for there to be growth, you have to you have to take some of that extra weight off and just lay it on God, because God says that there's nothing that you can't bring to him. There's nothing that he won't do for you. He said, knock and the door shall be open. Ask and it shall be given. And that's the major problem is that a lot of us are just holding on to maybe it was even our past self. We haven't even forgiven ourselves for something that we feel like we should have done that we didn't get a chance to do. And you just wonder why you keep running around similar situations throughout the rest of your life. Is because you never forgave yourself. You never got over that situation. You never pushed past that pain point. At some point in your life, you have to push past that pain. You have to grit and bear it. Nobody ever said it was to be easy, but God will see you through that situation. God will be with you through that situation, and that's what he promises in his word. So we have to not necessarily be like some of those old Jews who was remembering, maybe how the building used to look, and they were throwing a pity party, moaning and groaning, whereas some of the other individuals were just rejoicing in the moment, rejoicing in the fact that they had accomplished something great, rejoicing in the fact that there was restoration. Oh my God, that there was restoration, that once what was lost was given, was replenished, was refilled. Oh, who is ready for a refilling of their spirit? Who is ready for a refilling of their destiny? Who is ready for their second chance? We are under the most beautiful opportunity. We serve a God of a second chance. If God had not given us a second chance, Jesus would have never come, died, buried, rose, and ascended unto heaven. It just wouldn't have never happened, because we know Adam messed up, but the second Adam, which was Jesus Christ, came that we may have life and that we may have it more abundantly. I hope that you took something from this lesson and that you actually read the full thing. I want to encourage you, and I hope to see you again next Sunday for our next lesson. Y'all be blessed. Until next time.